In a world obsessed with display, the wise man hides. The powerful do not parade their gold, they conceal it beneath silence. For every king who flaunts his crown, there are 10 wolves waiting to take it. I have learned that wealth, like power, grows safest in the shadows. Those who act poor are not weak, they are untouchable. The moment you seem rich, you invite envy. And envy destroys faster than poverty ever could. So if you seek true fortune, learn this paradox. Pretend to be poor, and the world will never see your empire rising. Those who show no hunger for gold often find it flows to them. Machiavelli understood that in the pursuit of power and wealth, appearances are weapons. To act rich is to invite resistance. To act poor is to move unseen. When you display hunger for money, others begin to fear your rise. They see you as a rival, and rivals attract enemies. But when you seem content with little, people lower their guard. They stop watching. They stop competing. And it is in this moment of invisibility that your power quietly multiplies. The wise do not chase wealth openly. They disguise ambition under humility. This is not weakness, but design. The world is built on envy, and envy is the most destructive emotion among men. When someone senses your desire for riches, they begin to plot your downfall. Sometimes not through direct action, but through gossip, opposition, or quiet sabotage. Those who appear satisfied, those who show no desperation, move through life freely. They gain trust, pity, even protection, while building in silence. Acting poor becomes a form of camouflage in a battlefield where every eye measures your worth to decide whether to attack or align. Machiavelli would say that the appearance of simplicity is more powerful than the display of abundance. In politics and business alike, those who appear harmless are rarely seen as threats. Their true strength lies in patience. A fox hides before it strikes. In the same way, a man who conceals his wealth under modest habits positions himself to act without interference. The merchant who lives modestly while his coffers grow deep survives longer than the one who flaunts luxury. The prince who walks among the poor gains their loyalty, while the one who boasts of his fortune breeds hatred. Acting poor is not about rejecting wealth. It is about mastering perception, turning the world's judgment into your armor. When you do not flaunt, you control the narrative. People create their own assumptions about you, and most will underestimate your reach. Underestimation is one of the most powerful shields you can possess. Those who are feared are watched. Those who are envied are attacked. But those who are ignored can act freely. A hidden strategy thrives on others' blindness. When they finally notice, it's too late. The power you built quietly now commands without resistance. This is the paradox. Pretending to be weak to become untouchable, appearing poor to grow rich beyond measure. The human instinct seeks validation. Men want to be seen, admired, envied. But that very need for recognition is what makes them vulnerable. Machiavelli's wisdom demands discipline, the discipline to resist display. The moment you boast of your success, you shift attention from your work to yourself, and attention brings exposure. Exposure brings danger. The richest minds in history understood that control is worth more than recognition. Power does not come from applause. It comes from leverage, and leverage grows best in the dark. When you act poor, you are not lying. You are protecting what truly matters. The freedom to operate without being chained by others. Expectations. Even nature follows this law. The seed hides in darkness before it becomes a tree. The predator crouches low before it strikes. Silence precedes greatness. To act poor is to act patient. It is to say, I will not show my wealth until it is beyond being taken. Machiavelli's wisdom teaches that you must never reveal your full strength until the moment of necessity. The man who flaunts invites theft. The one who conceals invites opportunity. Wealth flows to those who appear indifferent to it because they are not distracted by its illusion. They are focused on its control, and in this control, quiet, deliberate, unseen, lies the truest form of power. The fool flaunts riches, the fox hides them until the hunt is over. Machiavelli's lesson here is simple but profound. The greatest advantage in life is invisibility. The moment you display your wealth, your plans, or your power, You surrender control over how others perceive and treat you. When people know what you have, they begin to calculate how to take it from you. But when you keep your wealth hidden, your movements remain unpredictable. You command the element of surprise, which is the most powerful weapon in any form of strategy. Machiavelli observed that men are not content with what they have. They are obsessed with what others possess. Once your fortune becomes visible, you awaken greed, envy, and resentment in those around you. Friends start to measure your worth against theirs. Enemies begin to gather information. The curious begin to gossip. All of these forces quietly erode your position before you even realize it. The fool who flaunts invites 1,000 eyes into his affairs. The fox, however, moves silently, masking his intentions, waiting until his success is irreversible before revealing it to the world. When you act like you have little, you control expectations. No one sees you as a threat, and that is your greatest advantage. To hide your power is to preserve it. Power thrives on secrecy because secrecy protects your freedom to maneuver. When others do not know what you are capable of, they cannot effectively oppose you. They cannot prepare for your next step. A king who reveals every move gives his enemies time to plan. A wise ruler hides his strength behind diplomacy and patience until the right moment to strike. This principle applies beyond politics. It governs all competition. In business, social life, and personal ambition. The man who reveals too much of his progress creates resistance. The man who conceals it builds momentum without interference. The less others know, the more control you retain. Human nature craves recognition, yet recognition is the enemy of power. To be admired is to be watched, and to be watched is to lose freedom. The rich man who cannot walk unnoticed is not powerful. He is trapped by his image. The truly powerful seek anonymity, because anonymity allows them to move without consequence. When you hide your success, you become untouchable. The world underestimates you, and underestimation gives you time to grow stronger in silence. Then, when you finally reveal what you have built, it is not a display. It is a declaration. By the time the world sees your power, it is already too late for them to stop it. Machiavelli would warn that every act of exposure invites reaction. When you show your wealth, you give others something to attack. When you speak of your plans, you give them a chance to counter. But when you conceal both, you rob them of information, and information is the foundation of influence. Invisibility turns you into a shadow that cannot be targeted. It confuses your rivals and calms your allies. Even those who doubt you will hesitate to move against you because uncertainty breeds caution. The fear of the unknown becomes your ally. There is a quiet strength in restraint, the ability to wait, to remain hidden, to suppress the desire for attention. This is what separates the ruler from the ruled. The fox does not reveal its catch until it is secured. The wise man builds his fortune under modest appearances, avoiding the noise of public display. When the time comes, his success does not need to be announced. It speaks for itself. This is the Machiavellian way. Power is not what others see, it is what you control in silence. When you learn to hide your power until it is unquestionable, you no longer seek approval. You no longer play by the world's rules. You become the one who writes them. A prince must wear many faces, even that of the beggar. Machiavelli's wisdom lies in understanding that appearances are tools, not truths. To act poor is not to surrender wealth, but to wield disguise as a weapon. Society is built on perception. Men are judged not for what they are, but for what they appear to be. Therefore, he who can master the art of illusion controls how the world reacts to him. Acting poor is one of the most effective disguises because it conceals both ambition and advantage. It shields the powerful from envy and blinds rivals to one's true position. Machiavelli observed that envy is far more dangerous than poverty. A man who appears to have nothing is rarely attacked, but one who flaunts abundance becomes a target. When you act poor, you neutralize envy before it forms. You make yourself unworthy of hatred and suspicion. People sympathize with you, underestimate you, even trust you. Meanwhile, behind this mask, you build quietly. The beggar's face is a form of armor. It invites no jealousy, only pity. It allows you to move unseen through a world obsessed with wealth and status. The weak display what they have. The strong conceal what they possess. The mask of poverty also teaches humility as strategy. When you appear lowly, those above you feel safe. They see no threat in your presence, no challenge to their position. This gives you access to their circles, their conversations, and their secrets. You learn more when people do not guard their words around you. Power often hides in information, and information flows freely to those who seem powerless. The art is to remain outwardly modest while inwardly calculating. Machiavelli would argue that the wise man's goal is not to be seen as powerful, but to be effective in silence. When you wear the mask of poverty, you disarm the vanity of others while advancing your own cause. Acting poor also keeps your desires hidden. Most people expose their ambition too early, showing their hunger for success before they have secured it. This creates obstacles. Others begin to compete, to block, to question. But the one who conceals his desire moves without interference. He works in shadows, unnoticed and unhindered. He does not reveal his intentions until his position is unshakable. At that moment, the disguise falls, and the world realizes too late that the man they ignored has already taken the throne. Machiavelli understood that timing is everything. The power of revelation lies in waiting until the right moment, when opposition is powerless to resist. The mask of poverty is not only for defense, it is for control. When people believe you are poor, they speak freely around you. They reveal their greed, their arrogance, their true character. You see who would exploit you, who would betray you, and who you can trust. This knowledge gives you an advantage that no amount of visible wealth can buy. The beggar learns the nature of kings, while the king learns nothing of beggars. In deception lies clarity. In modesty lies control. True poverty is a condition of weakness, but acting poor is a choice of power. It is not about lacking resources, but about mastering restraint. The man who can pretend to have nothing while owning everything holds the highest form of freedom. He is not bound by opinion, nor does he fear envy or theft. He operates outside the reach of judgment. When you no longer need to prove yourself, you become untouchable. Machiavelli would remind you that power is not gained through display, but through discipline. The beggar's mask is not a lie. It is protection, strategy, and wisdom woven into one. The world worships wealth, but the wise know that the greatest fortune lies in being invisible while possessing everything. It is safer to be underestimated than to be envied. In this single truth, Machiavelli exposes one of the deepest principles of human behavior, that the perception others hold of you determines how freely you can act. To be feared or envied is to live under constant threat, but to be underestimated is to move without resistance. When people believe you are weaker, less intelligent, or less capable than you truly are, they do not defend against you. They reveal themselves openly, dismiss you as harmless, and in doing so, give you room to maneuver. The wise understand this and turn underestimation into a form of power. Machiavelli knew that envy destroys faster than swords. The moment others perceive your strength, they begin to conspire against it. In every court, every kingdom, every organization, those who rise too fast become targets. Their success threatens the comfort of others. The envious may not attack directly, but they whisper, obstruct, and poison your name in silence. The most intelligent way to neutralize envy is not to confront it, but to prevent it from ever taking root. When you appear smaller than you are, you remove the spark that ignites jealousy. People may even feel superior to you, which keeps them complacent and blind to your true ascent. To be underestimated is not humiliation, it is protection. When others think you cannot harm them, they stop guarding their secrets. They lower their walls. You begin to see their weaknesses, their fears, their intentions. Meanwhile, they see nothing of yours. The fool reveals his plan by boasting of it. The wise man hides his ambition behind a mask of simplicity. By pretending to be ordinary, you gain extraordinary access. You learn the unspoken dynamics of power, while others waste their energy maintaining appearances. When the time comes to act, your strike is unexpected, your victory effortless, and your enemies confused about how it happened. The desire to be respected too early ruins many great minds. People crave acknowledgement, praise, and validation. But Machiavelli would call this hunger a trap. The moment you seek recognition, You place your power in the hands of others. You allow them to define your worth. The wiser path is patience, to appear unthreatening until your influence is beyond being challenged. When people think you are beneath them, they leave you unguarded. You rise beneath their notice, and by the time they realize your strength, it is too late to stop you. History favors those who were ignored before they were feared. Underestimation also allows you to observe rather than perform. Those who constantly seek to prove themselves exhaust their focus, trying to impress. Those who are content to be unseen conserve energy for strategy. They act deliberately, not reactively. They listen more than they speak, learn more than they teach, and prepare more than they show. Machiavelli's wisdom reminds us that true power is quiet. Noise invites attention, and attention brings scrutiny. The man who walks in silence becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability is the highest form of control. This principle extends to wealth, intelligence, and ambition alike. A rich man who appears poor, a genius who speaks simply, a ruler who pretends to follow, all these are examples of deliberate underestimation. They create illusions that grant freedom of movement. They can act, plan, and accumulate power without drawing suspicion. The greatest players in history knew this art, to let others believe they were weak until the final moment revealed otherwise. At that moment, the game ends before it even begins. Machiavelli teaches that life is a battlefield of perception. To win, you must decide not how strong you are, but how strong others believe you to be. The clever conceal strength behind humility, ambition behind calm, intelligence behind silence. To be envied is dangerous. To be underestimated is divine. The world fears what it understands, but it cannot fight what it never sees coming. Gold loses its power the moment it is displayed. Machiavelli's wisdom in this line reveals a truth that most people never learn. That power is not in possession, but in perception. The more openly you show what you have, the more you weaken its value. Wealth, when displayed, becomes a target. When concealed, it becomes a weapon. A man who flaunts his riches may impress the crowd for a moment, but he also exposes himself to envy, theft, and manipulation. The man who hides his wealth, however, controls it silently, using it as leverage rather than decoration. This difference defines who rules and who is ruled by their own fortune. Machiavelli understood that visibility invites vulnerability. The moment people can measure your wealth, they begin to measure themselves against it. They want what you have or want to destroy it. They gossip, plot, and compete. Every act of display breeds hostility. Those who are wise use modesty as armor. They make others believe they possess little, while in truth, they hold more than anyone imagines. To control the perception of your resources is to control how the world treats you. When you appear to have nothing, people reveal their true intentions toward you. They either dismiss you or expose their greed, both of which give you the upper hand. True wealth, in Machiavelli's eyes, is not the abundance of gold, but the mastery of how and when to use it. The man who spends to impress becomes dependent on the admiration of others. He becomes a prisoner of his image. The man who conceals his fortune can spend strategically, not for vanity, but for influence. Money that is hidden can be moved quietly, invested in alliances, favors, or information. Its power grows in silence, untouched by public envy. Once wealth becomes a performance, it loses its strategic function. What once could buy power now only buys attention, and attention is the most dangerous currency of all. Machiavelli's political insight applies equally to personal life. What you display defines your enemies. A ruler who boasts of his riches attracts rebellion. A businessman who flaunts success invites sabotage. A person who shows every gain exposes their weaknesses. Those who hide their advantages remain untouchable because no one knows what to attack. To appear poor is to disarm suspicion. You can move freely while others waste their energy competing against illusions. When they think you have little, they underestimate you. By the time they realize your strength, you already control the field. Invisibility is not the absence of wealth. It is the perfection of control. It gives you the ability to influence outcomes without exposing the means behind them. People respect mystery more than they respect riches. When they cannot see the source of your strength, they assume it runs deep. A visible fortune fades in meaning because it is defined and limited. A hidden one grows in myth because it cannot be measured. The greatest power is not in showing abundance, but in creating uncertainty about its extent. Those who understand this keep others guessing, and guessing keeps others off balance. The desire to display success is born from insecurity. The need to prove your worth through possessions reveals that you are still ruled by the opinions of others. Machiavelli would say that a man who must show his power does not truly possess it. Power that depends on display is fragile. It lives and dies by attention. Real power does not beg to be seen. It influences silently, directs without noise, and endures without applause. Gold that glitters too brightly blinds its owner before it blinds his enemies. The wise let others chase the illusion of wealth while they master the reality of control. Hidden wealth is not just protection, it is dominance disguised as humility, a power that operates where eyes cannot reach and hands cannot touch. Noise is for those who have nothing. Silence is for those building empires. Machiavelli's final lesson on the paradox of wealth captures the essence of true power, that strength grows in stillness, not in display. The man who constantly talks about his ambitions, his wealth, and his progress reveals more than he understands. His need to be seen betrays his insecurity. Those who truly build, those who rise beyond the reach of ordinary men, operate in silence. They do not announce their moves, they execute them. They let results speak when the time is right. Noise is cheap, silence is expensive, because it demands patience, control, and confidence. Machiavelli believed that every form of power, political, financial, or personal, thrives when hidden. The louder you are, the more attention you attract, and attention brings interference. People begin to study you, question you, and prepare against you. But when you work quietly, your actions take shape in the shadows, free from resistance. The element of surprise is your greatest advantage. When others cannot predict your next step, they cannot block it. The man of silence holds mystery, and mystery commands respect. When no one can read your thoughts or see your plans, they fear what you might be capable of. Silence creates the illusion of depth, and in a world obsessed with noise, depth itself becomes power. The art of silence is the art of self-control. Most people cannot resist the urge to show progress, to prove that they are succeeding. But that urge is what makes them predictable. They reveal their intentions too early, exposing the direction of their path. Machiavelli would say that the wise man acts opposite to this nature. He hides his intentions even when he is close to success. He shares nothing, not out of fear, but out of strategy. Every word withheld is a defense. Every silence maintained is a wall between him and those who might wish to use his plans against him. The greatest victories come to those who master restraint, who can do great things without speaking of them. Noise also breeds weakness because it feeds on validation. The man who constantly seeks acknowledgement gives power to those who grant it. He becomes dependent on approval, addicted to recognition. But the one who works in silence answers only to his own judgment. He measures success not by applause but by results. He does not waste energy convincing others of his vision. That energy goes into building it. Silence keeps focus intact, unscattered by the distractions of praise or criticism. The builder of empires does not argue about his worth. He simply becomes undeniable. Machiavelli would remind us that rulers fall not because they are weak, but because they talk too much. Every secret spoken is a weapon handed to the enemy. In politics, a plan exposed is a plan destroyed. The same is true in life. Once people know your next move, they will influence it, sabotage it, or imitate it. Silence protects originality. It guards you from manipulation. It gives you the patience to act only when the conditions favor you. The fool rushes to reveal, the wise waits to strike. When he does, the act is so precise, so decisive, that no one can respond in time. Even in relationships, business, and daily life, the principle holds. Those who speak less are taken more seriously. Their words carry weight because they are rare. Those who talk constantly lose authority through excess. Silence builds an aura, a presence that demands respect without demanding attention. It makes people curious, and curiosity turns into influence. You control others not by what you say, but by what they think you might say. In the end, silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. It is where thoughts sharpen, plans mature, and power gathers momentum. The world chases noise because noise feels like action, but action born in silence changes everything it touches. Machiavelli's lesson is eternal. The loud boast of their dreams, but the silent create realities. The empire that lasts is not built in public. It is built in the quiet hours when no one is watching. In the theater of power, appearances decide everything. The world worships gold, yet it bows before those who seem to have none. To act poor is not to reject wealth, it is to master it. For the man who hides his riches, his plans, and his strength, commands more than those who flaunt them. The moment you display your fortune, you become its servant. But when you conceal it, fortune serves you. Remember this, true wealth is not in what the eyes can see, but in what only you can control. Let others chase attention, you chase power. Let them seek to be noticed, you seek to be untouchable. When you learn to move in silence, to act humble, to hide your strength behind simplicity, you will not only protect what you've built, you will multiply it beyond measure. This is the paradox Machiavelli understood. Sometimes the surest path to power is to appear powerless.